Good day, I'm Dr. T. Welcome to my office. It has been a while. Life gets busy. Okay, so in the hiatus recently, I read a book, more of Audible a book. Do love Audible. But this is the Field Guide for Understanding Human Error. Yep, by Sidney Dekker. A really interesting text. So in here, the author does an interesting argument. And the argument is that there is no such thing as human error. Instead, people are part of systems, and if there is an undesirable outcome, a disaster of some sort, it is not because someone made a mistake. It's not because someone did something wrong. It's because the system that they are a part of failed. And so that it's not that people make things unsafe, it's that the system that the people are in is itself unsafe. And so the author kind of has like about 3 or so kind of core theses. You can kind of argue around a little bit of this. I want to dive back into the book, and actually the reason I have the Dead Tree edition, I want to kind of go through a second time through, maybe make a concept map on it, do a couple other things like that. Kind of the core theses of the book. The idea of one, that people are part of the system and that you have to look at why the person made the choices that they made. Why did they do what was done? If they missed something, if they should have done this, were they not given the information they needed? Were they given too much information? In hindsight, this is one of the kind of main sort of themes of the book also, is that in hindsight, if you're doing an accident investigation, you know what happened. You know what went wrong. They didn't. People aren't trying to find the best solution to their problem during, while things are going wrong. They're just trying to figure out what on earth their problem is. And so it's very easy to be very judgmental, like you should have done this, you should have done that, when they didn't know what was going on. They didn't know the outcome. They can't work backwards from something that's in the future. And so, kind of this thesis of there's no such thing as human error. It's the system that's around the person. Were they being overloaded with information? Were they being expected to do things they couldn't do safely? Are you having them manufacture widgets? And the safe way, you get 20 widgets an hour, but you're expecting them to do 30 widgets an hour. And so they can't do it safely. They have to do and take shortcuts, etc. Which leads to kind of one of the other theses of the book, which is you have to know the system. You have to understand not just the way the workers are supposed to be doing it, not just the way that things are supposed to be done, but how it's really being done. Because you've got competing goals. You got to be profitable. You got to move quickly. I mean, the safest thing to do is nothing. So safety is a priority. It's never the only priority. If it was the only priority, you just wouldn't do anything. And then kind of the last part of the book, which really almost retcons the whole book, because this is very much an argumentative text. He's very much setting up an argument for this new way of looking at safety that is a systems approach, and you have to understand the system. But kind of towards the end of the book, he brings up this idea that you've got different systems and they have different levels of safety. You've got unsafe systems. His examples, I believe, were mountain climbing and brain surgery. I would probably, if I was doing it, if I was writing the book, I probably would say like military combat operations or something. Something where it's like inherently dangerous. People are going to get hurt, but there's a reason you're doing this. Then you got safe systems, very safe and ultra safe. And most things in modern society are moving to this ultra safe setup. What you have to do to go from unsafe to very safe are different than what it takes to go from very safe to ultra safe. And the dangers in an ultra safe environment are fundamentally different than that of the dangers in the very safe environment. In safe and very safe environments, small failures are usually foretelling of something bigger to happen. You get a bunch of rock falls and then the mine collapses, the canary in the coal mine. In an ultra-safe environment, it's very easy to fixate on these small things that are going wrong, but miss that the actual dangers is coming from the system drifting and changing in ways that you're not expecting it. You can be so focused on the things that don't matter that you miss the things that do matter. Now, in hindsight, once you look at a catastrophe and your ultra-safe system failing, then you'll figure out what went wrong. You're like, why didn't I see it? Well, you didn't see it because you didn't understand the system as a whole. and you were focused potentially on things that didn't really matter that much. And maybe your approaches to get there weren't necessarily the best approach. He goes on for several pages, well, okay, several minutes in the Audible book, talking about zero injury or zero accident policies and how he does not like them because if you incentivize people to not have reported accidents or punish people for reporting accidents, well, it's not that you don't have accidents. You don't have reported accidents, and your understanding of the system degrades. So definitely a really great text. I encourage you to read it. Once again, I'm going to go on a deeper dive. This was, me reflecting on what I listened to from Audible a while back. Ryan Macbeth had recommended on his channel. Absolutely love the recommendation. So good book. Encourage you to check it out. Once again, that kind of towards the end, talking about safe, very safe, unsafe systems. Kind of retcons the whole first part of the book. So it's kind of an interesting narrative. I do believe the Audible book was read by the author. I always love it when the audiobook is done by the author. I always feel like it gives a great, nice twist to it. A great flavor. The author usually does a very good job with the work. Not saying anything bad about voice actors. They often do very, very good work. But when you can get the author, that's always really good. So I encourage you, go out, read the book. I definitely enjoyed it. Definitely something, as instructors, if you're in kind of a field that has safety involved, we want to be communicating safety policies to our students and not just, do this, but also like how to think about safety. So with that said, have a wonderful day, and I'll see you in later videos, hopefully coming out a little bit sooner than the last gap.